You ever walk into a room and feel like your existence alone ruined the air? That was me and my son Evan walking into my parents' house for Thanksgiving. I had on my nicest sweater. He was holding the pumpkin pie we'd made together the night before. His tiny hands had carved out the little leaves along the crust, and I was actually looking forward to the evening. We hadn't seen family in a few weeks, and Evan had been asking non-stop if Grandma would like his pie. I told him of course she would. I lied. Because the moment we stepped inside, I felt it. The stillness. The glance my mom gave me, sharp and clipped, like I was interrupting something. And then came Emily. She was standing in the hallway like she owned the place, wearing one of her usual over-the-top holiday dresses, hair perfectly curled, and of course, eyes wide with fake surprise. "Oh, I thought you weren't coming," she said, her voice already dripping with sugar and spite. I blinked. "Why would I not come? It's Thanksgiving." Emily tilted her head toward our mum, then sighed, loud enough for Evan to hear. "I told Mom and Dad I wouldn't stay if she came. I just can't deal with her energy right now." Her energy, that's what she said, as if I was some malfunctioning Wi-Fi signal ruining the vibe of the whole dinner. I looked to my mum, expecting, hoping she'd shut it down. Instead, she placed a hand on my arm and whispered like she was doing me a favor. "Lila, maybe this year just isn't a good time. Emily's been having a rough few weeks, and we just want peace today." My stomach dropped. Evan was still holding the pie, smiling up at me, completely unaware of the rejection we were about to be served. I felt the blood drain from my face, but I managed to ask quietly, "You're asking me to leave?" That's when my dad came in, wiping his hands on a dish towel, not even making eye contact. "It's not personal," he said. "Just let your sister have this one day. You know how sensitive she is." I looked down at my son. He whispered, "Did we do something wrong?" It felt like a steel trap snapped inside my chest. I gently took the pie from his hands and placed it on the kitchen counter. "Come on, sweetie," I said. "Let's go." No one stopped me. Not my mum, not my dad, not even Emily, who had the nerve to look relieved. We walked out in silence, the kind that buries itself in your ribs and stays there. That night, I microwaved leftover mac and cheese, and we watched Home Alone on the couch. Evan never complained, not once. He's used to being treated like a guest instead of family. But me? Something inside me snapped clean in half. And if you like revenge stories that start small but burn hot, you might want to stick around, because the only thing colder than that Thanksgiving turkey was what came next. You know what's funny? Even after that Thanksgiving disaster, I still caught myself thinking, maybe they didn't mean it that way. That's how deep it goes. The hope that one day your parents will finally see you. But if you really want to understand how we got there, you have to go back 5 years. My dad had a minor stroke and lost his job. My mum's hours at the dental office were cut in half. I was 31, working full-time and picking up freelance bookkeeping jobs at night. They didn't ask me to step in, not directly. But bills started piling up. The mortgage, electricity, car insurance. And every time I visited, my mum would sigh louder. My dad would mumble about how expensive things were. So I offered, once. And then it became the routine. Mortgage, I paid it. Gas bill, on my card. Insurance, under my name. At first I didn't mind. They were my parents. They'd raised me, helped me through college. I thought, this is what good daughters do. But the thing is, no one else stepped up. My sister Emily, she'd swing by, dump her laundry, talk about her latest spa cleanse or drama of the week boyfriend, and then disappear. She didn't contribute a penny. Yet every holiday, she was the golden child. She'd show up in designer boots, cry about some breakup, and suddenly she was the brave one, the sensitive soul. Meanwhile, I brought groceries, gifts, even paid to fix their car's brakes, and barely got a thanks. It was like being useful made me invisible, worse, expected. And here's where I need to ask you something honestly. Have you ever done everything for someone and still felt like a stranger at their table? If you've been there, I want to know, because I can't be the only one. Back then, I thought keeping the family afloat was enough to keep me included. I kept telling myself, don't make it about you, Lila. Just do the right thing. But slowly, doing the right thing started to feel like bleeding out by inches. One night, I looked at my bank statement. Over $60,000 had gone to their household in less than 4 years. Meanwhile, Evan was outgrowing his shoes and asking why we couldn't go on vacation like other families do. I didn't even realize I was crying until he came over and wiped my cheek with his sleeve. He didn't say a word, just hugged me. That hug hurt more than any bill I ever paid. Looking back, I wasn't just financially supporting them. I was paying rent on love that never belonged to me. That night, after we left my parents' house, I didn't cry. Not in the car, not while unlocking the door to our little apartment. Not even when I saw Evan quietly take off his shoes and fold the pie-stained napkin into his coat pocket like it still mattered. I microwaved some leftover mac and cheese while he changed into pajamas. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It was just too familiar. He crawled up next to me on the couch, bowl in hand, and said, "This is nice too, right?" His voice was soft, like he was trying to protect me from feeling bad. I nodded and forced a smile. "Yeah, buddy, it's nice." We watched Home Alone like we always do. He laughed at the same parts, asked the same questions, and halfway through his head was on my shoulder. But I couldn't focus, because for the first time in years, something inside me was loud. I got up quietly and went to my desk, pulled out the old green file folder labelled Parents. It was a mess of papers I hadn't touched in months, maybe because part of me didn't want to face the truth on paper. Inside were mortgage statements, utility bills, car insurance documents, most of them auto-paid from my account. Every line had my name on it, not theirs, mine. I flipped to the refinance documents from 5 years ago. I remember signing them after Dad's stroke, thinking, this is temporary, we'll get through this together. But we never did, I just kept paying. And they just kept acting like I owed it to them. I pulled out a calculator, did the math. Over $68,000 in payments. Not counting groceries, not counting last-minute emergencies, or Emily's spontaneous loans that never got paid back. I stared at the number until the screen faded. That was the moment something shifted. Not just anger, not even sadness, something colder, clarity. See, I always thought I was holding the family together. But really, I was the only one trying. Everyone else was just holding out their hands. And then I thought about Evan. He'd asked me once why we never had a family vacation. I told him we'd do it next year. But there was always a bill, a crisis, a parent who needed saving. He never complained. Not once. And it hit me. I'd been sacrificing my son's joy to buy a seat at a table that didn't want me there. I looked over at him, fast asleep on the couch, still holding the empty bowl in his hands. That night, I stopped wishing for an apology. I stopped hoping they'd change. I didn't know what I was going to do yet. But I knew one thing. This wasn't happening again. Not to me, and definitely not to him. The morning after Thanksgiving, I didn't reach for coffee. I reached for my laptop, and I opened every account tied to my parents' names. Mortgage, auto-pay disabled, electricity, gas, internet, updated to send new billing to them. Car insurance on the sedan my dad drove, policy cancelled, The car's still legally mine, title and all. I wasn't being petty. I was being precise. For 5 years, I paid to keep their lives comfortable. Not extravagant, but stable. And the moment I became inconvenient, I was disposable. I didn't slam doors or write angry texts. I just typed up a polite message and dropped it in the family group chat. Hi all. After giving it serious thought, I've decided to step back from handling financial responsibilities for Mom and Dad's household. Starting December the 1st, they'll need to manage payments directly. I'll be transferring account access this week. Best, Lila. Read. Seen. No replies. Not even a thumbs up. I expected silence. I didn't expect the phone call 3 days later. My mum crying so hard she could barely speak. Lila, why are you doing this to us? We're not prepared. The mortgage, the heat, it's almost winter. I listened, calm, then said, You told me I wasn't welcome. I'm just making sure I don't carry the responsibilities of a daughter when I'm not treated like one. She stammered, tried to backtrack. It wasn't personal, honey. Emily's just sensitive. You know how she is. I nearly laughed. Yeah, Mom, I know exactly how she is. I also know how you are when you choose her comfort over my presence. There was a pause, like maybe, just maybe, she got it. But then came the guilt card. You'll regret this one day. We're your parents. When we're gone, you'll wish. I cut her off. I already regret waiting this long. Then I hung up. No screaming, no drama. Just the click of a line that finally went quiet. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. I thought it was over. Until the envelope came, certified, thick and cold looking. Inside was a letter from my parents' lawyer. Not a conversation, not a phone call, a demand. They claimed I'd voluntarily assumed financial responsibility for their home, and now I was morally obligated to continue. And the kicker? They accused me of causing undue hardship by withdrawing support. I couldn't believe it. After 5 years of carrying their bills, I was now the villain? I forwarded the letter to my attorney. He read it twice, then chuckled softly. They don't have a legal leg to stand on, he said, but if they want to take this public, we'll respond accordingly. I wasn't angry. Not anymore. Just done. They wanted court? Fine. Let's go. The hearing was small, just a civil motion, but word got around. A local reporter showed up, probably hoping for drama. They weren't disappointed. Their lawyer painted me as cold, vengeful, emotionally unstable. She cut off her aging parents right before Christmas, he said, voice trembling like a Hallmark movie villain. Then it was my turn. We presented the documents. Mortgage in my name, auto payments from my account, the insurance policy I'd maintained. Texts where Dad thanked me for covering the bills again. But nothing I said compared to what happened next. Evan stood up. He held a folded piece of notebook paper and asked the judge if he could say something. My heart stopped. The judge nodded, and my son, my quiet, thoughtful boy, read every word. Grandma said I wasn't part of the family dinner, but my mum still paid for their house. She buys them food, keeps their lights on, even when they're mean to her. I think family should be kind, and if they don't want us at the table, then maybe we should stop paying for it. The room went completely silent. The judge looked at my parents, then at me, and she ruled in my favour. Full financial control, no further obligation. My parents didn't even look at Evan when we walked out, but he looked up at me and smiled. Did I help? I squeezed his hand. You have no idea, baby. No idea. They didn't fight the final ruling. No appeals, no emails, no apologies. They packed their things and moved out of the house I had paid for. Last I heard, they were staying with my mum's sister in Ohio, and she wasn't thrilled about it either. I walked through the empty house once before putting it on the market. It was quiet, dusty in corners, still smelling faintly like cinnamon and guilt. I thought I'd feel grief, but all I felt was space. Not freedom like fireworks, freedom like a deep breath after holding it too long. The sale closed a few weeks later. I used part of the money to finally do something for us, just me and Evan. We rented a snowy cabin up north over winter break. We sledded until our noses turned pink. We drank cocoa by a fireplace that actually crackled. And at night he'd curl up next to me and ask questions like, "Do you think raccoons get cold? And can we live here forever?" One night he looked up at me and said, "This is the best Christmas I've ever had, even better than the ones at Grandma's." That nearly broke me, but not in a bad way. In a way that closed a door without slamming it. Emily never apologized. She sent me one message months later, accusing me of tearing the family apart over money. I blocked her. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done, because I didn't lose a family that day. I finally let go of the illusion of one. And in doing so, I found something better, something real. Evan and I still live in our small apartment. We still make mac and cheese sometimes and laugh at Home Alone like it's brand new. But now we sit at a table where we both belong. No guilt, no conditions, just love. And if you've ever had to walk away from family to find peace, tell me this. Did it break you before it healed you? Because for me, it had to hurt before it could feel like home. I'd love to hear your story. Drop it below. Let's talk.